Hey everyone, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be talking about cover letters, how to craft an interesting cover letter, why cover letters are important, and how do you write one that will get read by the hiring manager. Without further ado, let's get into it. That was your objective for today, how to craft a good cover letter. This is what you will be able to do by the end of this lesson. Now let's move on. Oh man, what's the problem with this? Okay, guys. Now I'm going to ask you to pause the video for a second, and I have one question here for you that I want you to think of. Why are cover letters called cover letters? And also this other question: what are the differences between cover letters and resumes? So I want you to come up with your own answers regarding these two questions. Okay, so let's keep going. We're going to try to make this one fast. Because we don't want to make it too long. All right, so this man is called Michael Lauder, and he is kind of a good coach when it comes to teaching people how to write a good cover letter. Now this what you can see here that talks about context, qualifies, and quantifies. That means your cover. This is what your cover letter does. This is the difference between the cover letter and the resume. Your cover letter contextualizes what you had in your resume, and it qualifies and quantifies what you had in your resume. Now look at this difference between cover letters and resumes. As you can see, a resume is a list of things that you have done, things that you have accomplished, whereas a cover letter is explaining how you have done that, why you have done it, when you have done it, and what were the end results. The end results are really important. You always want to include the end result, because what you want to show is that you are a person who can solve a problem. This is what the cover letter is doing. You're showing the company that you are able to solve problems, because all companies are result driven, and they seek candidates who know how to produce results. What you're trying to do with your cover letter is make yourself attractive. And to do that, we're going to be covering how you can do that after, but let's look at this. This is an opening paragraph to a cover letter. Just pause the video for a second, read it, and then tell me what you think about it. Do you think this is a good way to open your letter? Let's read it. Working for a company would be a dream come true for me. I will learn so much at your expense and then quickly move on. So you can already understand that this is not a good way to open your letter, because companies are not looking for people that they can help improve. Companies are looking for people who can help them. They are, like I just told you, they are looking for people who can produce results. So this is definitely not a good way to open your letter. They are not here to help you become better and then leave them and continue on with your career. This is not what their objectives are. So yeah, this was not a good way to open. So what they are doing, what they want, they are looking for people who can show that they have discipline, that they have studied. They are looking for intelligent people and people who take initiative. That means they're looking for people who have leadership skills. They will be looking at that in your cover letter. This is what you need to mention. You see, mention what you have done in your life that shows all of that. So these three squares that you see here, they are gonna be the three paragraphs that you're gonna be developing in your cover letter. The first paragraph should talk about, should be an introduction of yourself. It will talk about what is your core strength. This is where you'll be talking about your major, your field of study, and things you have done research on. And the second paragraph, you will be developing um, uh, what kind of tool that you master, things that you have been exposed to. Such, for example, if you want to become an instructor and help, if you want to be a teacher and help, it might be a good idea to say, okay, I've been exposed to Moodle. I know how to use Moodle. I know how to use Outlook. You see, this is the second paragraph that you're going to be talking about softwares that you have been exposed to and that you kind of master. And the last paragraph is really where you're gonna show leadership skill that you have. If you have been in if you have been in any if you have been involved in any activity that show leadership, how much of a good communicator you are, things like that. But yeah, so let's keep going. Let's look at what Michael Lauder calls the three paragraph business letter format. You will look at it, it's not really three paragraphs. If you count, you will see it's really five paragraphs. But when it says three paragraphs, it's really talking about the body paragraphs. The first paragraph is kind of the opening paragraph, and the last one is the closing paragraph. These two are not included in the three paragraphs. So let's look at that. Let's take a little bit, let's look at it a little bit closer. So this is just the format here that you have. You are not necessarily going to be using that, but if you're going to be using it, it's a you need to remember that the first part is your address and the date, and then the second part out you skip a few lines and then you add the address of what your the company, and then you skip the same amount of lines and you write dear human resource. Now let's stay here for a little while. Sometimes you will see people write in the cover letter dear to whom it may concern, or dear Mr. or Madam. This is not a good idea because you want to show the people that you know them. If you don't know the name of the hiring manager, it's better to say dear human resources instead of saying to whom it may concern, because when you say that, it literally shows that you have no idea of who the hiring manager is, let alone what they are going to be, what they are doing. So it's like you want to come join them, but you don't have a lot of information about them. So it's better to say dear human resource instead of saying to whom it may concern. I mean, you can write that, but it would always be a better idea to write dear human resource if you don't know the name of the hiring manager. Now let's look at this opening paragraph. What you see here is the three skills that I've talked about. They are mentioned in the second sentence. You have a two-sentence paragraph. The first one is when you are talking about what you done, what you did, what was your major. For example, let's read it. You're posting on monster.com for software specialists with networking skills interest me. All right. Now the second sentence is with my computer experience. That means this is what you majored in. Application knowledge. That means some software that you master. And communication skills. This is the third skill that you want to talk about. I can serve you well. Now listen to that. When you are writing your opening paragraph, it's always a good idea to focus on the reader. You want to use you or your. You don't want to say I. When you are opening your paragraph, it's a very bad idea to say I. You are not focusing on yourself, you are focusing on the reader. You will have enough chance to focus on yourself to use a lot of I's when you are developing the letter and the first, second, and third paragraph. But when you are writing the opening, it's better to say you, your, and never I. Now, before we continue with the letter, let's look at that. What do we call fishing for a job? We call that, let's talk about that. Some companies, they don't advertise for a job, you see? And there might be some vacant positions you might not be aware of. So it's a good idea to fish for a job. And because you know why that is a good idea, is because yeah, it worked for some people in the past, and it still works for people. So yeah, you can fish for a job, you can definitely do that. Now let's keep going. Now let me show you how you should open your letter if you are fishing for a job. Now if the company didn't advertise for the position, you can write it like that. Can, the name of the company, use the service of a software specialist? This is an example. Who has an academic emphasis on networking and security and possesses proven communication skills? Here you see in the first sentence, you mention the three skills. You mentioned the three skills that we talked about. And then in the second sentence, it's still a second sentence introduction. And the second sentence, what did I just say? It said, okay, so it's still a two-sentence introduction. Now in the second sentence, you say, I'm interested in working for you as a software specialist or as a member of your team. So you know why it's a good idea to say or as a member of your team? Because you don't want to be too specific. You don't want to say, I want this exact position. This is the exact position that I want. Because if they don't have a position like that, they're not going to be able to offer it to you. So you can also leave room for some possibility that they might be able to hire you for something else. This is why you say or as a member of your team. Now let's keep going, guys. We've been consuming some time on that. Let's keep going. All right, so this is the closing, but before we get to the closing paragraph, let's go back to the okay. So now let's look at the letter. You have the introduction, which is the opening paragraph. Then you have the first paragraph that talks about your major. The second paragraph talks about what you can do, things that you've been exposed to, like what kind of tool that you use. And the last paragraph, this is where you're mentioning things like how much of a leader that you are. And then, yeah, let's keep going. Now to close your letter, let's look at this example. After you have read my resume for the details of my qualifications, I will be happy to answer any questions. Please contact me at. And this is kind of, this was very kind of a straightforward cover letter. Now, let me give you some more tips on how to make your cover letter even more interesting. Sorry. Let's talk about the disruptive cover letter. I'm going to introduce you to JT. This is JT. She's going to talk about what should you do to write a cover letter that will definitely get read. Now, listen, let's read this question. Recruiters don't read cover letters. Is that true or is that false? She says this is false. They read cover letters, but they read the good ones. So what does that mean? That means most of the letters, they stink. This is not from me, this is from JT. She says most cover letters stink. It's because according to her, there's too many blah, 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 and too many brag, brag, brag. Now, when you are writing your letter, guys, you have to own what you did. If you did something, you have to say that you did it, because don't forget, companies are looking for people who have potential. But yeah, that means you should not be using too much modesty. Don't try to be too modest, but also avoid to brag, because you see, you have to be straight. Say what you did. Don't lie. Don't say that you did it. Don't say that you did something that you did not do, but you have to be modest, but don't brag. This is what, this is one thing that makes your cover letter stink. Now let's get into that. One good idea when you're writing your cover letter is to share your experience with them. Tell them how you came to learn what they do is special. For example, you want to tell them that you had a personal experience with their product. B, you share what it was like the first time you used their product. You see, if you want to be a member of a company and you tell them that you have used their product and it has been useful to you, it has been a very good experience for you when you did it, this is going to be a good thing. They will start to see your letter as a person instead of a paper. You see what I mean? C, you can help them understand what life experience has made you feel. Okay, let's read that again. Help them understand what life experience has made you feel part of their tribe. This is definitely going to make them see that you are a person rather than a piece of paper. You are already a member of the community. You see, you feel like you are part of the tribe. That means it's like you are already one of them. They're definitely going to be interested in something like that. And I can tell you that firsthand because back in the day, I mean, back when I was applying to become a teacher at Help, this is one of the tips that trick that I used, and it was, I think it really served me well. So you have to show them that you are someone who is really one of them. And then what you're doing is you're creating connection. Definitely. Now, how much time is it going to take you to write a good cover letter? Maybe 1 to 2 hours, maybe more. And when you were done doing your cover letter, when you're done writing it, you do a first proofreading and then you ask somebody to do a second proofreading for you. And then you should be able to go. And I think this is going to be it, guys, for cover letters. And yeah, so let's just say thank you